but not at other times. The meeting is being filmed, and by being present, attendees are deemed to have agreed to be filmed and to the use of those images and sound recordings. I can advise that attendees should not disclose any personal information of individuals, as this would infringe the right of that individual under data protection. May I ask everyone to mute their microphones when not speaking, please. First item is apologies for absence. It looks like we have Councillor Dixon, apologies with Councillor Stock subbing. We also have Councillor North who's given formal apologies. We are currently not quorate on the basis that we have two town councillors, although Councillor Bond and myself are town councillors as well, but we don't have any subs from the town council perspective. So it just needs to go on record that we're not quorate. In terms of declarations of interest, do we have any declarations of interest in relation to any agenda item? Anybody? No, thank you. Okay. Any no members of the public in the chamber? Any other members of the public? No. Okay. So we'll move on to the item 4 then, Mr. Chairman's announcements. And I've got a couple of announcements just in relation to the Biggleswade Health Hub and the Ivor Medical Centre. So I'm going to read it out. So in terms of the Biggleswade Health Hub, as you're aware, there's been a lot of information in the local news about health issues affecting Biggleswade. I'd like to take an opportunity at the start of the meeting to cover two important subjects to provide an overview of the situation in both cases. On January 11th, Bedfordshire Luton and Milton Keynes Integrated Care Boards, Primary Care Commissioning and Assurance Committee held an extraordinary meeting to agree the primary care estate plans following on from their prioritisation of their primary care revenue budget. None of Central Bedfordshire's future integrated health and care hubs, including Biggleswade, are included as affordable projects by the ICB at this time, but this is based solely on primary care budgets. The ICB committee paper says that they will continue to seek further opportunities to bring some of these schemes forward, rescope some of these schemes in an affordable way, and may consider alternative funding streams in relation to schemes, particularly those included in the multi-agency system-wide integrated health and care hub programme. The papers from the extraordinary committee meeting are available on the BLMAK ICB website. In a statement released by the ICB last Thursday, the 12th of January, it was stated that they will, however, continue to work with partners to develop proposals for integrated health and care hubs. As councils, both CBC and BTC, we support the need for the integrated health and care hub as a model of healthcare provision, and we will continue to work in partnership and to lobby our health partners, MPs, NHS England and ministers to support and facilitate the development of primary care and health care premises in Biggleswade and across central Bedfordshire to meet the needs of current and future populations. The funds for the construction of a health hub for Biggleswade remain in Central Bed Council's capital programme at present. The matter has been discussed by both the Social Care, Health and Housing Overview and Scrutiny Committee on the 16th of January and the Health and Wellbeing Board on the 18th of January, both of which recordings can be viewed on the CBC website. So just another, it's a statement as such. In terms of the Ivor Medical Centre, Central Beds and the Council and the Town Council received notification from BLMK ICB on the Tuesday the 17th of January that the GPs at the Ivor Medical Centre have resigned their current contract to provide GP primary care services and that their contract will end at midnight on the 31st of May 2023. A media statement has also been issued to their website. The news that there will be a change of all GPs working at the Ivor Medical Centre in Biggleswade as of the 1st of June may well be unsettling for patients, undoubtedly. We're aware that staff and households registered at the practice have been informed of the changes by letter, and we look to see assurances from the Integrated Care Board that the practice will remain open. There will be a smooth transition to the new provider with no disruption to the GP services that people depend on. All staff employed by the practice will be eligible to transfer to the new providers, which will assist with the continuity of care of patients. And both the statements are available on the ICB website. Now, clearly, there's some concern and likely to be some concern there. Councillor Stock.
Okay, first time I've used that, and I'm using it because yeah, my voice isn't how it should be. just referring back to the Biggleswade Integrated Health and Care Hub as the portfolio holder for health and wellbeing, where this sits, and our leader, we have been deeply frustrated that what came out of that meeting from the ICB that was held at very short notice. It's still our plan, and we still have the money in the budget for the Biggleswade Integrated Health and Care Hub. I have addressed this with the chair of the ICB, Rima Makaram, who also felt frustrated regarding the statements that came out of that committee. And so myself, our leader, Councillor Richard Wenham, meeting with Rima Makaram and the CEO, Felicity Cox, to discuss this further. As I say, we are still committed for the Biggleswade Hub, and we still wish to pursue this. I think it would be fair to say that there has been some backpedaling about what was said at that original committee meeting from the BMK. So we are hoping to, without raising expectations, we still wish to keep this on the table, but obviously there needs to be some conversations with the ICB before we can announce anything. But yeah, it's still in our budget. We still wish to pursue this.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Going on to the Ivor Medical Centre, as a patient of that centre, I haven't received any notification. I've received notification as a councillor and nothing else. I have to say that whatever comes after the 31st of May can't be any worse than the kind of service that we've received over the last few months, I'm afraid. And we have had nothing but complaints as councillors, particularly about that surgery. I thought they had to give 6 months notice, so I presume they gave notice to the ICB earlier than it's been made public. We first knew about it when we knew a member of staff who had been told on Monday. So we'll see what happens. But just to say that my understanding is that our MP actually raised the issue of Ivor Medical at PMQs yesterday, which I'm very grateful for, and he has been pushing hard for the health service in Biggleswade in particular, but in North East Beds in general, because of the greater expansion, the greater number of houses that North East Beds has had, far above the national average for other MP's constituencies. So he is pushing hard, but I think we need to know as soon as possible what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely, and I agree. And I think, yes, you're right in terms of the communication to residents and patients. I'd say I'm not the information I'm given is that the residents have been written to. Probably those letters are coming through. But I thought it was important that we address the item within this meeting. Albeit I understand that it's not sure exactly where it is in terms of the public domain. But I think it's important that. Go ahead, Councillor Sock, you were.
My understanding is it wasn't in the public domain yet. So exactly. So yeah, there were some frustrations over that, but I wanted to go back, and you reminded me by saying back to the Integrated Health and Care Hub that the local MP did address the Prime Minister on Wednesday asking for funds for the Biggleswade Health Hub, who did say that he would consider addressing this as well. So I just wanted to add that.
I just come back in terms of the communication. Obviously, the reason I read the statement was on the back of the it's a communication from the CBC comms team. So it is, as far as I understood, it was in the public domain, but it's a little bit tricky there, given that we are where we are now. So, Councillor Whittaker.
It's a bit unfortunate that it's been raised today, but as it has, I understand that letters will be going to residents and should be received Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
That's not really very acceptable, is it? Because when once they told the staff on Monday, it was bound to get round. So of course it's in the public domain because the staff know. Well,
we will we'll move on. Okay. So in terms of minutes, so the next item on the agenda is the minutes of the previous meeting. So the, so the minutes of the Joint Committee on page 5. Any issues with accuracy? Page 6, page 7, and page 8. So no issues in accuracy in terms of matters arising. And page 5, page 6, page 7, and page 8. No, okay. The next meeting, so next item on the agenda is the meeting date. The next meeting date is the 6th of April. And we'll move on to item 8, which is the economy and town centre. So we have Mark. Go ahead, Councillor Russell.
I note that the 6th of April is during Purdah. Should we be bringing that meeting forward a couple of weeks? I just asked the question so that we can have a full meeting.
I think we could take that away. I think it's fair to think about how that. I think we did discuss this. I'm not quite sure how the timings will work out. But
well, if the meeting isn't affected, that's fine. I don't know the rules either.
Okay. Item 8 then is the economy and town centre. Have we got Mark here for highways? Not here. Nope.
Sorry, Shahidullah from CBC. I'll be giving you an update on the highways plan works.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. So I'm conscious I'm facing forward, so I can't actually see you on the screen. So thank you, Shahil. So we've got highways programme and the planned structural maintenance for Biggleswade. You update on both of those?
Yes. So yeah, my name is Shahidullah Tarakil. I'm the principal highways engineer for CBC. I've just got a presentation that I'm just going to share with you all. 1 minute.
Okay.
All right. So just a quick update on the ongoing and the works that has been completed already. So we had about 7 footway schemes. 5 of them have been completed. Stratton Way footway scheme is planned to start on the 6th of February and expected to be completed by the 21st. We've got Sandpiper Close. This scheme has been deferred to next year, and it will be delivered in the next year planned program. For carriageway schemes, we had Lawrence Road, which following on from last meeting, the work has been completed now. And Sun Street was the other one that was completed back in summer.
Is this presentation meant to be shared? We're not seeing it on the screen.
Oh, sorry, can you guys not see it? Because
and those who are not in parcel, could I please switch their cameras off? That way we get the full screen. Thank you.
Can you guys see the screen? Can you all see the screens?
We can only see you.
Right. Okay. I'm going to share again. Can you see the screen now?
No.
Okay. Try again. 1 second. Right. Sorry, can you see the screen now?
No, Shahid, do you want to email it to me and I'll see if I can share it and overcome the technology? It's Sarah Hughes. I'm on the CBC.
Yeah, okay. Right. Sorry, this is taking longer than I thought. I've just emailed the file to you, Sarah. Sorry, Sarah, have you received the file?
Yes, I have. So I'm just going to see if I can you unshare if you've still got?
Yeah. So, yeah, we can see the screen now. Thank you. Okay, so I'll just start again. So I'll just go, if you could, yeah, so we've got footway schemes, 7 footway schemes, 5 have been completed. Stratton Way is planned to start on the 6th and expected to be completed on the 21st of February. We've got Sandpiper Close, which will be delivered in the next financial year. If you could please go to the next slide. Carriageway scheme, so Lawrence Road has been completed on the 1st of December, so that carriageway resurfacing work is all done. Sun Street was completed in the summer, so moving on to the next one, please. Okay, so schemes for 23, 24, so the new highways term service contract has been awarded to Milestone Infrastructure Limited, who will be delivering our next year's structural maintenance program. All the next year carriageway schemes have been, all the data has been collected and analyzed. The footway survey has also been undertaken, and we do have the results now, and it's currently under review by highways. If you could move on to the next slide, please. Could move on to the next slide, please, Sarah.
Yeah, I have.
Sorry, I can't see the screen anymore. Okay, so I'll just there's mine here. Okay, so yeah, so we just a brief explanation as to how we select the various schemes. So we prioritize schemes based on the risk factors. So that includes condition grade, scheme size, reactive maintenance history, highway classification, and the local infrastructure. The next slide is for is about next year's scheme. So if you can move on, please. Yeah, so thank you. So next year, we've got all the data and it's currently under review. So far, we've got 2 schemes, Saffron Court and Mead End. So those are the 2 footway schemes that will be delivered in the next financial year, along with Sandpiper Close, which is moved from this year. We are still reviewing this condition data, and potentially there is a chance that we will have more footway schemes added onto the list as we make some progress. This will be updated for the next meeting. Moving on to carriageway schemes, so we've got 3 schemes, 3 schemes that we have selected for carriageway: Ferdinand Road, Saffron Road, and Spring Close. So that's the footway and the carriageway schemes that we have planned for next year. Okay, next slide. Yeah, thank you. Market Square trees. So the tree department is intending to remove and replace a total of 4 trees. On the map, the circle, the blue circles indicate the location of these trees. If you move on to the next slide, please. So currently the Christmas lights are still in the tree, and they will be removed by the 27th of this month. The filling work will then take place the week after. We don't have any dates for the installation of these for the new tree pits. Trees departments have approached the town council for their suggestions and preferences regarding the tree pits and the species. So any suggestions received will be then cross-referenced with CBCs, and it will then be checked with the tree suppliers if we have them available. As soon as the species have been established, the design process for the work will start. The existing roots and stump will then be removed and the new tree pits will be installed. Trees will provide an update over the coming weeks and months with the progress. And that's all I have for you. Thank you.
Okay, members, any questions, any comments? Councillor Russell.
I don't quite understand why carriageway works for Furston Hall are being undertaken until we know what's happening with the planning application for Furston Hall. Because if there's going to be a building site there, it would be a bit silly. Also, Hallam are proposing various lumps, bumps and restrictions for cars. So what is the point of doing a carriageway resurfacing for Furston Hall Road? And then moving on to trees, I think we need to discuss that in detail, Chairman, because the Town Council is not happy with trees being replaced in the short term.
Okay, well, we can pick that up in a second then, Councillor Russell. So, Cheryl, in terms of the Furston Hall Road, are you able to give us some sort of feedback on that, given that?
Yes. Yeah. So currently, we've got the condition data for all these carriageways throughout CBC, and from that we select a number of schemes based on the priority. Furston Hall Road has made it on that list, and we don't have. There will be a detailed walkabout just towards the end of this financial year, where once we have a full program, this will then be passed on to the street works, where all the clashes with any other works, everything else will be checked and cross-referenced. But for the time being, this is just on the list as a scheme that needs some sort of treatment.
Thank you. That's understood. Given that the sort of planning application is still in progress as such, I guess it's just to have that in mind, that I'm not preempting any decision on the planning application, but it's just be mindful of that there is this planning application in place.
Absolutely. Yeah, that will be taken into account when it comes to programming these works. But for the time being, it's on the list of schemes that will need some sort of treatment. If not next year, and it will then be passed on to the year after.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else? Councillor Ramsey.
I'd like to ask about Spring Close, please. At what point is that going to be done? Is it a priority, or is it going to?
So at the moment, it's just we've got obviously a list of footway and carriageway schemes. We've got the new contractor coming in and will be doing all this work for us. So we will have a meeting in the next couple of months where we will have a program and we will have dates against each and every scheme. So for the time being, we don't have any dates as to when the work is expected to start, but that's something that we will keep you updated on later in the year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Whittaker.
In addition to Councillor Russell's comments on the Furston Hall and North of Furston Hall, we've also got the revised application for Lindsall's Crossing is also in, which includes widening of Furston Hall Road. So I would not only concur with Councillor Russell's, but I would also add to it that I think we have two quite significant planning applications which are due to be decided any time now. There is and I would fully expect those developers or those contractors to be making good that road once the work is completed, and that should not be for the council or taxpayers to be doing. So that really does need looking at. I wouldn't want to be wasting officer time considering that scheme when there are others such as Crab Lane, which are far more likely to need doing.
Thank you. I will look into this and provide an update later.
With regards, well, that will conclude the highways bit. So in terms of Market Square trees, then, Councillor Ross, what did you want to speak about on that?
We've discussed this at the Town Council, and we are concerned because we are being told that, and I mean, Nick Shaw isn't available at the moment, but he has told us that highways will not be considering the bus route impact of the transport interchange until the new financial year. So we don't know yet what might happen on the Market Square and whether the bus exit route will be able to be closed. If the bus exit route is able to be closed, then the Town Council wants to consider how the Market Square might better be used, particularly for the market and for events. So therefore it would be a bit premature to put new trees in because we actually might want trees in different places. So I'm not saying that we don't want the same number of trees as we've got now. We do want the 4 that are going to be removed to be replaced in some way, but not in the immediate future in the same places. So I would ask that the bus routes around the Market Square and what happens to the bus exit lane be considered at the same time as where we might put new trees in, rather than automatically replacing the trees at this point. And I understand that it's possible to just take the trees out at ground level without disturbing what's there anymore, because if you take it out and make good, then that's extra expense in the future. And as long as there aren't the trip hazards there, we don't necessarily need the whole thing replaced. So I think it needs to be looked at quite carefully, whether by highways or trees, to see where we might go with this, but certainly not to replace the trees in the immediate future. Thank you.
Councillor Whittaker.
Totally understand and hear what you're saying, Councillor Russell, and I think there is an element of urgency here in that obviously the bird nesting season is soon to be upon us, and in order to, and actually the officer didn't mention the pollarding that I think is planned with the other trees, as well as removing these trees that are causing problems with the roots. But I think essentially there is a narrow window now, or a narrowing window in which to get those works completed. If we miss that window, we then have another year of people falling over on a fairly regular basis and trying to keep up with remediation on the Market Square, and I don't think anybody really wants that anymore. So I think if what you're saying is let's remove those 4 trees and pollard the trees, that the remaining trees, and then think about where to put the new trees, and that won't slow up, I think, the plan for reducing that potential risk from those tree roots. I think that's entirely reasonable. I don't think there's any concern about that, but I'll be very concerned if we wanted to talk about it lots and lots and lots, and actually we missed that window for doing that, removing those trees and stopping that tree root damage any further.
Nobody's talking about not removing the 4 trees. We're talking about not wasting money planting trees where they might not be needed.
That was my understanding. So effectively make good. So don't dig out any further than is needed, but then consider, which I think makes sense to do so. Okay, but we'll record that as part of the minutes and then take that forward. Councillor Russell.
Could I just say that we ought to formally record that we are quorate now?
Yes, indeed. Yes. Noted. Okay. Anybody else on those items? No. Okay. In which case we'll go on to the next item, item 9, which is the local infrastructure projects. Now we've got the written report from Nick Shaw. Any comments? Anything anybody wants to talk about in relation to that before we move on? Or Councillor Russell?
Just to keep harping on about the planning for the bus exit lane and what's happening with the buses in the meanwhile, when the transport interchange is completed, hopefully still at the end of March. You know, we've got that hiatus before we can really know what's happening with the buses, and it would be good to have a conversation with Nick Shaw or whoever the right officer is in the nearer future rather than the further away future.
Okay, well, it's good to have the update, a written report. Obviously, residents looking, viewing this and seeing online that the documents are available, but it's just, I say, there's not really a great deal to discuss, and obviously from the officer's perspective. So we have Adrian with us. Yeah, so again, so Adrian, are you able to help us with an update on the bus routes, please?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name's Adrian Hardy. I'm the Public Transport Manager at Central Beds Council. I haven't seen the update that Nick has provided, I'm afraid, but what I was going to do was just give you an update on where we are with planning for the bus routes to use the interchange once it opens. So we've completed a review of the local bus network. As I'm sure you know, some of the bus routes are contracted by us, so we control the routes and the timetables. Some of them operate on a commercial basis, so we don't have so much influence. Some of the routes already run via the station, so there's no issue with those services using the interchange once it's open. The remainder of the routes can easily operate via a minor diversion down Station Road to serve the interchange. So the next steps are going to be to discuss with the bus operators, especially the commercial operators where we don't have so much control over the routes, discuss with those operators to agree route and timetable changes to enable those services to serve the interchange, coincide with when the interchange opens, which I believe is in May. But it's probably a little bit early to say too much about that. I don't really see any reason why all the services into the town won't be able to run via the interchange. At this stage, I haven't really got much more to add than that at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much. I know Councillor Russell will want to make some comment on that, and I think before that, obviously the town council. I'll tell you what, I'll leave my comments until Councillor Russell's made hers. Go ahead, Councillor Russell.
Thank you. I think the issue, Adrian, is that we do want to have that bus exit lane closed on the Market Square. We've wanted that for a long while. So it's not so much how buses can get up to the transport interchange, because the interchange itself enables the buses to turn round. What's the difficulty is what happens with the buses on the Market Square. That we very much still want bus stops right in the town centre, because a lot of elderly people would find it a great strain to walk from the interchange down into the Market Square, and they tend to be the people who are using the buses. So we've thought a lot about this, and we've had some of our own ideas which have already been submitted to Central Beds. They may or may not be feasible. We're not transport engineers. But and one of the difficulties is when buses want to come in to the Market Square and exit along Market Street, and that's not really possible on a Saturday. So at one stage, Nick Shaw was talking about trying a temporary closure of the bus exit lane and seeing how that worked and how that might work on a Saturday. And we've got slides from a meeting of some time ago, a year, 18 months ago, when all that was being discussed. And when we looked at possible routes ourselves, the real difficulty, if we have bus stops on the high street rather than on the Market Square itself, is what happens when a bus comes in from one direction and needs to turn around and go out in the same direction. And I know that Councillor Dalgano was a bit concerned that the mini roundabout at the bottom of the high street isn't sufficiently big for a bus to turn round. So there are lots of things to think about. And we're anxious that we can talk about these and think about these as soon as possible. I think you heard the discussion earlier about the trees, and this is all tied in together, trying to make the town centre, both the High Street and the Market Square, work more efficiently. So I leave it with officers, what more can we do? But, you know, we do need the highways expertise to look at these issues and see what the solution might be.
Well, if I could just make a comment on that, I think we would share the wish for the buses to remain in the high street or in the town centre area. I've certainly had conversations with residents who are very worried about the thought that the bus services might be taken out of the town centre, and perhaps everybody would be expected to catch their bus from the new interchange. But we certainly don't want to see that. We certainly want to find a way for buses to stay in the town centre. I'm happy to pick up with Nick and yourselves just to look at the various options for ensuring that happens. But my understanding was that was a kind of a slightly future project. The interchange is under construction at the moment, and what happens in the town centre is another project for the future. But we're very happy to get involved with that in the future and implement whatever the best solution turns out to be.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that's helpful for us to know. It's the town council in particular are very concerned that the way that the market square develops in a way, so it's trying to tie everything up together, as Councillor Russell more eloquently alluded to, but it's making sure the whole thing is linked up, so we're not just doing work 2 or 3 times rather than in one go. So it needs to be integrated. Councillor Whitaker.
Just to briefly say, I think tied in with that as well comes Century House and what CBC plan to do with Century House, because we could sort out the buses and then all of a sudden decide we want to do something different with Century House. And I know there have been lots of meetings over the years, I think now, discussing what might happen with Century House. And I think at some point in the not too distant future, we need some clarity on exactly what CBC assets intend to do with that building. And I think that will help to inform not just Century House, but also the bus discussion.
You're absolutely right. Again, I think we've seen various iterations of what it might look like, whatever the options, and there's some of the options that were considered. I'm not going to go ahead because other things have happened. So yes, absolutely right. The sooner we know what the plans are, the better. But how long do you wait until some decisions are made on trees and bus routes, etc., etc.? So how integrated? The conversations need to be fully integrated, but it's difficult without knowing what's happening with that. Absolutely.
Demolish the white elephant.
Councillor Russell, I know you've been talking about that for a number of years. I remember seeing a plan about it specifically. Councillor Whitting.
Can I suggest that maybe we ask Beverly Gaynor from Placemaking to either give us a comment or to write to the Town Council and just give her view on where we are with the grander scheme of placemaking, because it possibly comes under her remit, because it does feel like once we get that decision about Century House, the rest will just cascade into place, but obviously we need that decision from the top.
Completely agree. Yeah. We will ask the question. Go ahead, Councillor Russell.
I was thinking that it'd be nice if Beverly Gaynor were here and talking to us about how far she's got, because it is our town centre.
Thank you. Comments noted. Okay. So anything else that anybody wants to add around the transport interchange and bus routes and town centre for the moment? No. Okay. So we're going to then move on to the play areas project. Mr. Hussaini.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So on the play areas project, I'm delighted to say that we broke ground on the Franklin's Recreation Ground play area on Monday, the 16th of January. The majority of the recreation ground is still very much open to the public to enjoy throughout the works. So far, the work has just begun essentially to cut out and sustainably remove existing play equipment and the matting underneath it for other repurposed purposes elsewhere, which the contractor's dealing with. The digging work for the new installation groundworks have now begun as well, and a whole suite of new wood-based equipment is being delivered by the end of this month, 31st of January, followed up by another suite of the new metal-based play equipment being delivered by mid-February and then installed. Completion of the new play equipment installation is expected by mid-March 2023, subject only to very inclement weather, heavy rain, we're being told. That would be the worst thing that could happen. Pause there.
It's good to know, have an update. Thank you very much on that. I think it's important that we're updating, I guess, the website so that residents can see sort of the progress we're making, and I guess also sort of we're clear on what the end result's likely to look like. So from a communication point of view, I think it's important that that's up to date. Councillor Bond.
I'd like to say I'm delighted it's happening and I'm pleased with broken ground, and the schedules are great. It'd be lovely to have all that equipment in place. It's a vast improvement to some of the stuff we have, and it's really good that some of the old stuff is actually going to be repurposed in any case. So that's a great win, and obviously it's really good. It'd be a really good success for the town council. Thank you.
Okay. Next one then, Drove Road Chapel project.
Yep, thank you. So the Harris security fencing was installed around the compound, around the important building, I should say, on Friday the 25th of November. Scaffolding was then erected on the site to provide access to the high-level works to be done at high level rather, on the central valleys between the chapel and the central tower, along with access to the slate-covered roof and timber vents serving the tower. The erection of that scaffolding was slightly delayed, expecting to take 2 weeks. It's now obviously in place. It was supposed to be finished before Christmas, essentially. Due to, however, this cold snap, it was pushed back a little bit for health and safety reasons. But now it's all in place. A site meeting took place on the 13th of January, following Christmas break, to assess the full extent of the high-level works which are required. And these works have now begun essentially to make the building from a top-down basis weatherproof, essentially. I'll pause there because obviously this is year one of the 3-year program on the same building, important building.
Comments and questions? Anything else? No? Okay. So again, it's another important project for the town council. That the Drove Road Chapel has, I won't say been neglected, but it hasn't had the maintenance that's been necessary now, and it's something that we certainly as a town council has been essential to be done. And I think it's welcome that we've got this project moving forward. Councillor Bond.
Yes, it is going to be, it's a lot of work going into it. Scaffolding is obviously an expensive thing, so the opportunity is there to sort the building out. This is not, town council actually put a lot of money into the building only a few years ago, so it's a continuous project, but it's a town council's responsibility to look after this important listed building. And it's obviously a cherished building as far as people of Biggleswade are concerned. So I'm delighted it's going ahead, and I look forward to its completion in 3 years' time.
Did you want to say something, Councillor Russell?
No, I'm just amused at the optimism of the 3 years' time. We've still got a long way to go before then, Councillor Bond. But yeah, it's an important building to the town. It's an important building to me personally, as I've said publicly before. And also we know the chapel is still on the odd occasion used for a burial where there are burials in the old cemetery. And we obviously then will look forward and see what use can be made of the chapel on the other side, which is now deconsecrated. But we will find some good use for it one way or another for the benefit of the town.
Okay, thank you very much. I've got an electricity substation project in the report sent in by David Fisher. That seems to be a bit of a, I may be wrong, but it doesn't appear to have been in the pack. So.
No, it wasn't included with the papers, Councillor Foster, but we do have a short update from David that we can read out.
Excellent. And the same thing presumably in relation to Lintles Bridge as well, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Sorry, it's with my colleague Stephanie. She's supporting me on some of the joint committee work, so she has got the information.
Sorry, councillors, I'm just trying to find it and I'll read it out to you.
I've got it in front of me, Stephanie, if you'd like me to do it.
I hope I've got the right bit. Yeah, it mentions, I hope I've got the right bit. So the Biggleswade HIF programme remains compliant with the Homes of England grant determination agreement, sorry, and the 69.6 million associated funding. The programme is on budget and remains on schedule with 32 to 46 contractual milestones now completed. The Supergrid project groundworks have now commenced with earth movements, and works to the bell mouth are underway. Some delays have been experienced with the subcontractors, but works are now largely on track, and we hope to regain some time in the programme through the parallel works. Education project, a project is to be submitted by CBC executives in February 2023. Lindsell's Bridge, the landowner at the bridge site has now signed the land sale agreements for January 2023. The programme of the works has been delayed, and the intended bridge lift anticipated to take place at Christmas 2022 had to be cancelled, along with the anticipated groundbreaking ceremony. We now await Network Rail's revised contingency programme to advise of how extensive the works to the project's completion will be. The station interchange report was submitted by Nick Shaw, and Adrian Hardy is attending to update on the bus routes. Sorry. That's it.
Councillor Bond first, and then Councillor Russell.
I'll just say I no longer have a pecuniary interest in this, but I can probably give a more accurate update if it's helpful.
Yeah.
As Councillor Whitaker mentioned earlier, there's going to be widening of Thurston Hall Road from the triangle, which is the unadopted section of the road. And the reason this is happening is because Stories, the contractor for Network Rail, require to bring their cranes on site to lift the bridge in place. And the crane is far wider than Thurston Hall Road. So once all that is currently, they're finishing off the piling, they might actually have finished for the bridge is being built in two sections. Currently what Network Rail is doing, they're piled for the deck. And so the deck is actually going in potentially next month if they get the cranes in place and can actually widen the road. And then what they will then do, as you mentioned earlier, there is a planning application with CBC to vary the bridge, to reduce the length of the ramps. Obviously, they'll be waiting for the outcome of that, and it all depends. Then the next stage will occur, obviously, depending on how they schedule it in. So currently, as long as they can get, the current thing is the project's basically on hold, waiting to complete the widening of Thurston Hall Road to take the cranes. But I understand the deck, it's already been fabricated and it is ready to come to site to be craned in place. So in theory, that should happen. If all goes to plan, that should have happened by the end of February.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Russell.
There's obviously a written report because that's what was being read. Could that possibly be circulated? Because I didn't catch half of what was said about the electricity substation. And we've heard the update from Councillor Bond on Lindsell's. I believe we have Lindsell's condition 3 on the agenda again for the discharge of condition 3 on our Tuesday council meeting. And that's obviously an important thing as well. So I think, at least have the written reports that were given to the staff in Central Bedfordshire from the project manager. But I do think that the report could have been more complete, perhaps.
Councillor Whitaker.
I'll start on Lindsell's because that's the thing that we've spoken most about around the table. Thank you, Councillor Bond, for the further update. I would ask that when Town Council meet this week, they also consider that there is a a statement in the story, site management application for the new application that actually says that because of the rail strikes, they now intend to bring in the stone for the new bridge via the road. And that route will be from the A1 down Sun Street, over the railway bridge and down Furzenhall Road. I've already expressed serious concerns about 40-ton HGVs going over that bridge on that next to that very narrow pavement with people thundering past. And I've actually asked for a banksman to always be in place if anything is coming over that bridge, because I think it's incredibly dangerous. And I've also had a meeting as well with Councillor Delgado about other mitigation measures we can put in place there. So I don't know if you wanted to come back on that particular point, Councillor Bond, before I mention about the substation.
Obviously, I'm quite familiar with the deliveries to site on both sides of the railway by stories of the material required for the crane platforms and the roads. A lot of stone has already been delivered by train. I think there was an 800 odd ton single load, actually more than 2 of them come by rail. But the plan always was, by stories, to deliver the majority of the stone for the east side of the railway by vehicle, and those are normally 20-ton loads, and that's what I've actually witnessed being delivered, not 40-ton vehicles. The normal vehicle you see is a 20-ton load vehicle from a local company, which obviously has been supplying the material. I witnessed the stuff. So obviously wherever it comes, I'm not certain, but the fact is that, to my knowledge, they are not 40-ton vehicles, nothing like it.
Thank you, Councillor Bond. Even if it's 20-ton vehicles, if we have a lot of them, I still think walking on that incredibly narrow pavement with lots of them going past it is still dangerous. And I think we just need to be mindful of, if you're there with a small child or with a pushchair, I would not want to be walking on there with lorries thundering past every 5 minutes. So we're going to see what we can do to try and mitigate some of the risk to pedestrians. It's pedestrians more than anything else I'm concerned about. In terms of the substation, I think works have been going on really quite quickly. There have been a few issues that I have already raised with highways, but just to make town councillors aware, one is that the road has become terribly eroded because it's been narrowed, and actually that's led to really very significant potholes that have caused a lot of damage to different cars. And actually they've done a temporary fix, because obviously to fix it we would have to close the whole road because the road is already narrowed, so it's not going to be easy to do. But actually UK Power Networks have gone and done some remedial works, but they're not fantastic. And then I know a number of residents have raised concerns about the mud on the road, and again I've raised that as well. Highways have a great relationship with the team that are working there, and I've asked them to do more wheel washing because that hasn't been happening on site. So hopefully that will now start to happen, and I've noticed a slight improvement at least, and hopefully that will continue.
Thank you, Councillor Whitaker. Thank you for your update on that. Any other members' comments, questions? Okay, thank you very much then. I've already been given, so that those will be shared with members. Okay, so so item 10, part D, community engagement. It's over to you.
Thank you. So officers have continued to review communications on the Royal website to understand guidance for the King's coronation, and have also been reviewing other town and parish councils' plans just to see what they're doing. Some are foregoing any celebrations in light of the cost of living crisis. Others are doing outdoor cinema screens, dedicating memorials, and large bring and share sort of tea events in town centres. So quotes have been obtained for an open air cinema, and these are considerably expensive, sort of in the region of £10,000. And though the initial budget discussed was an indicative 5k, it's my understanding this is yet to be agreed and will be confirmed next Tuesday. Officers then intend to produce a report that will go to the Town Centre Management Committee on the 21st of February with recommendations. Thank you.
Members, questions? Any comments? I've just, in terms of timescales, Isaac, does that give the town council, and your opinion, does it give us enough time, given that 6th of May, TCM, and you say 25th of February, something like that, doesn't give you a great deal of time to get things in place? Is it something that, are you comfortable with the timings? I would just ask.
Respectfully, I joined in March, and then the Jubilee went ahead June 2nd, and it was, there was already progress, but I helped with that one.
Okay, go on, Karim.
Thanks, Chair. I mean, thanks, Isaac, as well. It depends actually essentially really what the guidance will be telling us officially in terms of the magnitude of an event. But I think we can estimate that we could, potentially cover something probably, I mean this as respectfully as possible, as kind of, as of was given the topic of the event, but something sort of slightly maybe equal or slightly smaller than the Jubilee event in terms of not numbers, but in terms of kind of the degree to meticulous delivery essentially of all the various aspects.
That's fine. I'm sure that the town council will discuss this in due course, and I'm sure it will be absolutely fine. And Remembrance Day then, Isaac.
Thanks. So overall, the Remembrance Day went well, with many positives to take away. There was a wash-up meeting held with some key stakeholders, and some of the following challenges were discussed. So one of them being the road closure issues. These were confirmed well in advance with CBC. There was just some initial confusion with the road closure barriers near Shortmead Street, causing issues with the flow of traffic, but they were quickly rectified once we realised what was going on. Shouldn't be an issue next year, because hopefully the interchange will be done way ahead, and then the usual route can resume. A few other issues highlighted were to do with the order of the parade, dress code and visibility of St John's, but all of them will be obviously considered for next year. And with thanks to the various teams in CBC that supported officers with making this happen, Streetworks, Highways and SAG. So thank you.
Okay, members, any comments, any questions for Isaac? Councillor Russell?
Just to say that given the hassle with the transport interchange being built and not being able to use the station forecourt, I think the event was very successful. You're quite right, there was a wash-up meeting, and there are always lessons to be learned from something like this, but overall it was very successful, so thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Item 11, I think this item 11 relates to just the fact that the papers are available to members upon request. But essentially, if you print it, or whether it's on screen, I've got mine printed off, but I print it myself. There's a copy here if you need to. But I know we've had this discussion about whether you want a hard copy or whether it's the email copy. I think it's just there for information, really. The final thing here is about the date of the next meeting. So we said the 6th of April. I think we'll have consideration on that, and then potentially could move it, but I'm not sure there's anything. The reason for moving it would be because of anything particularly political. I'm not sure most of the items that are on our agenda fit that criteria. So I think we'll take consideration of it, but for the time being, we'll leave that item on the date there as the 6th of April. With that in mind, we'll conclude the meeting. Thank you very much.